In this lesson, we're going to take a look at some mastering techniques that you can apply for your own projects before you burn your songs on CD. And it's common to create a session all by itself for mastering. In this example, we're using a mastering session with 3 different songs on 3 different tracks. Let me play this for you. So the routing here, let me explain to you on the mixer, is this way. We have these 3 different tracks, 1, 2, and 3, where our audio clips live, 1, 2, and 3. These are the songs. And these tracks are being routed to this mix channel. This is an auxiliary channel. So if I go to the output, you'll see that it's assigned to a bus called mix stereo. And this is assigned to that input, mix stereo. There it is. This auxiliary bus is then routed to this audio track to the right called print, and you can see it labeled here print on the output, and the audio track is labeled print on the input. So we're feeding these 3 original tracks to this mix bus, and this mix bus track to this audio print track. And the reason for that is so that we can print our mixes to new files, and we can then export those files to burn on a CD. On this mix bus track, we have a limiter which is provided by Avid called Maxim, and we'll start off with a preset called CD Mastering 16 bits. Okay, so if I play this song back, each one of these songs will have a roughly around the same attenuation, and we'll adjust the threshold to make it louder. Here we go. So this first song peaks at around 2.3 of reduction. Let's play the second song now. Okay, this one's a little bit lower. It peaks at 0.7. Let's play this last one. This last file is the one that peaks the most at 3.7. So what we can do is we can bring down the volume of this audio clip before it hits that limiter in 2 ways. We can bring down the audio clip volume here, or we can use the slider here. But I'd rather do it this way. So if you don't see this information right here, you can go to View, Clip, and choose Clip Gain Info. Now if you zoom in, let's move the limiter for now. You can see the small fader, and holding the command button on your computer keyboard or control on a PC, you can do fine tuning by 0.1 dB increments. So let's bring this down to about -3.5, and let's play back that section that was loud. Let's reset the attenuation and watch this number. Okay, so now this is peaking at 1.2, which puts it in the ballpark of the other 2 songs. Good. So what is mastering and how do you master? Well, it is an art form all within itself, and it's not something you're going to learn in 5 or 10 minutes. But there are some methods that you can use on your own for your own projects, such as EQ and compression, that will help your song sound a little bit better. And for that, we are going to be using the Channel Strip plugin that comes with Pro Tools. We're going to loop this song so we can just hear the audio, and then we're going to isolate frequencies that we want to subtract. We're also going to apply a little bit of compression. So I'll walk you through the workflow. So what we want to do is we want to select this audition button, and we want to isolate a frequency that might be resonant in the song. So similar to mixing, where we were honing down on frequencies that were harsh on the guitar and on the vocals, we're going to do the same thing here, but across the entire song. So I'll just play this back and play around with the frequency and play around with the bandwidth here and try to find a frequency that's resonating or that's unpleasant. So around there I hear almost like a whistle. Let me go ahead and unsolo this and boost this up. Yeah, so you hear that ring around 500 Hertz. So now that I found the resonant frequency, I'm going to reduce this. And you don't have to do a whole lot, but let's just play around with the reduction here on the gain. Let me do the same thing with a higher frequency. So let me just go to this high mid frequency and kind of fish around here. I think somewhere around there, 3.8K. So let's boost this up and see if that's the right frequency. Okay, now let's bring this down. Lastly, let's put a low cut filter, which is filter number 1. And let's kind of browse this around. We can also solo this, but it's going to be somewhere around, 30, even 40 Hertz. Okay, let's unsolo this. Okay, so we applied a couple of EQ cuts and filter on this song, and let's go now and play around with the compression settings. So again, for mastering, you're going to use a low ratio compression. So let's try somewhere around 1.5, and then we're going to play around with the attack and release settings. So now let's play this back without the EQ and compression, and then with the EQ and compression. So what I hear right away is that with the plugin on, the level sounds a little bit lower. And the reason for that is because our compressor is working too hard. So we can back off the threshold. And also these EQ cuts don't have to be so drastic. They can be, minus 1 dB sometimes at the most, depending on the material. So we can bring these back. Because with mastering, you want it to be very subtle. You're just massaging the track. You're not completely changing the tonality of it. So you would apply this type of processing, EQ and compression, across all your 3 different songs. And then when you're ready to print, you would just record them onto new tracks. So let me go ahead and render this offline. Okay, so we're back online, and what I've done is I've just ran a record pass of each one of these tracks onto this new track, which is called print. And as you can see just by the waveform, these tracks are louder than the original ones. And the reason for that is because we applied the maximum limiter, but also because we went through and subtracted some of the resonant frequencies, so it brought up the dynamic range of the song louder. So there they are, 1, 2, 3. So now that we have these 3 new files, what we can do is we can rename them. So I'll double click on this, and we don't want to call it print. Let's just say that's track 1. So we'll put 01, and we'll put it the name of the song. In this case, it's drum roll. Okay, do the same thing for the second clip, 02, EMX, and the third clip. There we go. So this allows you to name the clip and the disk file. So that means that the original clip that lives on your computer hard drive is going to also have the same name. Good, so our songs are completed and they're done. Now it's time to export them. So what you can do is here on the clip list, you'll notice that these new clips, when you select them, are going to be labeled correctly. So 02 and 03 and 01. So I can select all these clips, then I can go to this menu and choose export clips as files. So click on that, and then you can have some options. Because this is going to be burnt on a CD, let's say it is, we'll choose a 16-bit 44.1 wave, and then we'll choose a destination. So in our Pro Tools files, we'll create a folder, call it CD Master, click Open, and now we can choose Export. So let's go to our destination and make sure our files are there. Here we go, CD Master, and there they are, 1, 2, and 3. It gives us the information here, the length, so it's 45 seconds, 44.1, 16-bit. So at this point, these files are ready to be burnt on a CD. Let me close this, jump back to our session. Lastly, what I'll mention about mastering is that there are some mastering specific plugins in the market. Some of the names on the market that you want to search for is Plugin Alliance. They make mastering EQs and limiters. Also Waves is very popular, as well as iZotope. They make the Ozone mastering modules. And you can use those modules in this template instead of the built-in plugins that come with Pro Tools. But what's cool about this template is that if the client says that, let's say that their song is too bright, then you can come back here into the session, go into the channel, make the adjustments, reprint it onto a new file, and now you have a new version of the master. So working this way, where you're routing the individual channels to a bus and then printing that back into the session, allows you to create multiple versions of the mix or the master and have the files ready for you to send to the client. So that's mastering in a nutshell.